Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a horror fiction show called Teacup. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The story opens in the woods of Georgia, where a mysterious and bloodied woman panics while attempting to remove her restraints. She rubs the zip tie around her wrists on a rock to create friction, but she soon stops, as if some spirit possessed her, and mumbles, "Murder Maker," among several other random words. The woman comes back to her senses moments later and resumes rubbing her restraints on the rock. Meanwhile, a black dog, presumably feral, watches on as the woman successfully snaps off the zip tie and flees. Nearby, on a rural farmhouse owned by the Chenoweth family, the family matriarch Maggie entraps a bug with a teacup on a window. She then ushers her son Arlo over, and they listen to the insect buzzing inside the teacup. Once the fun is over, she invites Arlo to join her outside to release the bug, but he declines the offer. This annoys Maggie, but she doesn't say anything to her son. If playing with a bug is considered fun and going outside is too scary, this child needs better parents. While on her way outside, she pokes her head into the room of her teenage daughter Meryl and playfully teases her. Downstairs, Maggie's mother-in-law Elle cooks in the kitchen while singing along with the radio. The song suddenly transforms into a high-pitched, almost static-like noise before reverting to the tune. Outside the house, Maggie bumps into her husband James, and they chat about how their horses were restless last night. The conversation then pivots to Maggie being mad at his mother for some reason. It is also obvious that there is some unresolved marital tension between the two that Maggie refuses to address. Shortly afterwards, she releases the insect for Arlo's enjoyment, but the boy is busy looking at one of their goats, making a beeline for the nearby woods. He soon follows the animal, while Maggie visits the horses in the stables, who are still inexplicably spooked. As Arlo searches for the goat in the woods, the mysterious woman from earlier lurks nearby among the trees. Inside the farmhouse, Maggie chats with her mother-in-law Ellen. From their conversation, it is revealed that Ellen has multiple sclerosis, and she smokes weed to alleviate her symptoms. Maggie wasn't thrilled about Ellen staying with them, but now apologizes for behaving coldly when they first met. Soon afterwards, Maggie notices that Arlo is not in his room. She informs everyone about this, but before the family can respond, a truck arrives in their front yard. It's their neighbors, the Shanleys, Father Reuben, Mother Valerie, and son Nicholas, who seem to be extremely worried as their horse needs immediate medical attention. It is then revealed that Maggie is an equine veterinarian. Apparently, the horse got spooked and impaled itself on a fence. While Maggie gets to work, neighbor Valerie Shanley seems to be on edge. It is revealed that James had a brief affair with Valerie. Maggie knows that her husband had cheated, but doesn't know with whom. In the woods, Arlo has a scary run-in with the mysterious possessed lady from before. She knocks out the boy and stands over his body, still chanting random words in Spanish and English. She then leans in closer to his face and opens her mouth. This causes a spectrum of colors to swarm through her eyeballs, and they transfer over to Arlo's eyes. Back at the farm, another neighbor, Donald, arrives to warn everyone about a rabid dog he saw. Everyone begins arguing how they should rescue Arlo, when suddenly the boy wanders back home with scratch marks all over his arms. He's mumbling a strange sequence of words. Buzz, goat, wasp, find men, strange, murder maker, run, ran, hide. After yapping for a good minute, the boy collapses in his mother's arms. The scene then shifts to the woods, where the bloody, mysterious lady is attacked by the rabid dog. On the other hand, a car pulls up just down the road from the farm. A figure, decked in a gas mask, then emerges from inside and paints a blue line, separating the farmland from the rest of the area. Elsewhere, the families gathered at the farm notice the lights in the area flickering, while Donald's dog also won't stop barking at the woods. They want to take Arlo to the hospital, but none of their cars are working. On top of that, no one's phone has any signal. This worries everyone, and they ultimately decide to go back to the Chenoweth house for the time being. But Donald points out that someone hurt Arlo, so he'll go looking for that person before they can escape. In the bathroom, Arlo is feeling better and talking normally for the time being. His wounds are minor, but he doesn't remember what happened. But then, out of nowhere, he says they need to go and starts repeating the weird words, "Murder Maker." Arlo then tries to run away, but bumps against Nicholas Shanley, causing the latter to hurt his head. This gives Maggie the opportunity to hold the kid down until he reverts to normalcy. Meanwhile, James and Reuben Shanley family are saddling 2 horses to go to town for help when they notice a car on the road with the lights on. They run towards it and meet the masked man, who gestures at them to stop before pointing at the blue line on the ground. The mysterious stranger then holds up a board that says, "Don't cross the line." A frustrated James tries to explain the situation and ask for help, but the man takes out a gun to keep them at bay. He then makes a new drawing on the board, revealing that the blue line is a circle surrounding the whole farm area. When James tries approaching him again, the man fires a warning shot. Back in the house, Arlo suddenly grabs some scissors to attack Maggie while repeating the weird words, but she bravely blocks the door to stop him from leaving again. She then disarms him and holds him until he goes back to normal. Arlo, now back to his senses, admits that he's scared, so Maggie sings him a comforting song. As the kid sings along, he puts a bunch of marbles on the floor and places an inverted teacup on top of them. He then grabs a dictionary from nearby and points at the word trap. The little boy tells Maggie that the man in his head is telling them to hide because something is coming and it kills everything in its way. Back in the woods, Donald is looking around for the attacker when he suddenly trips on something. He gathers himself up and looks down, only to notice the dead body of the possessed woman from earlier. Donald had dropped his gun while falling, and when he turns around to look for it, he finds the big black dog growling at him. This frightens the poor guy and he starts walking away slowly, but the dog chases after him anyway. They soon reach the area where his friends and the masked man are standing, and Donald goes through the fence to escape. Unfortunately, he falls, and the dog lunges right on top of him to attack. A violent struggle then ensues, where both of them go back and forth at each other, but Donald eventually gains the upper hand and manages to throw the dog off across the blue line. To everyone's horror, the dog's bones start coming out of its body until it dies. The masked man then puts his board up again, reminding them not to cross the line. James demands an explanation, but the masked man only writes, "Don't trust anyone," and leaves in his car. At the Chenoweth household, Claire announces that she's going home with her dog because she has a landline phone which might still be working. The men spot her while returning and try to warn her, but it's too late. As soon as Claire crosses the line, her bones snap out, killing her in mere seconds. A horrified Donald tries to reach his wife across the line, but his hands start losing skin. This prompts the others to quickly pull him back before any serious damage is done. The scene shifts to the next morning, where Donald is still sitting outside, staring at his wife's body. Inside the house, Maggie asks her daughter to look after Arlo while she discusses the situation with James. He now wants to cross the woods to check on their neighbors, the Navarros. Maggie agrees to the idea and tells him to take Reuben, but James refuses to do so. This slightly enrages Maggie, and she reveals that she knows about his affair with Valerie. Upon hearing this, James is stunned, and he insists that the affair is over. He also apologizes, but she says it is too little too late. Unbeknownst to them, Reuben overhears their conversation from nearby and looks extremely hurt. Afterward, he gives Maggie a gun before joining James for the trip. They leave on their horses, and after just a few minutes of riding, they find a snake that crossed the line and died a gruesome death. Snakes have bones? Meanwhile, Maggie takes Donald inside the house as the rest of the women cover his wife's body with a blanket. Maggie then bandages his injury and gives him a medicine injection that was made for animals. This makes Donald feel a bit better, and he finally tells her about the body in the woods. In the rooms upstairs, Meryl and Nicholas find Arlo learning words from a dictionary. They ask who he is, and the little boy replies that he is the Harbinger. He also creepily says that the real Arlo is asleep and resting. As the Harbinger continues talking, he says that they are trapped and suddenly grabs Meryl's hand. He pulls her, insisting that all of them must hide or die. In the struggle, Meryl falls over and knocks a glass of water that spills over a nearby rainbow drawing. The spilled colors suddenly seem to give the Harbinger an idea, and he hopefully says that they aren't truly trapped. He now tries to take Meryl out with him, but she doesn't let him go anywhere. At this moment, Arlo takes control of his body and tells Meryl that she must listen to the Harbinger because someone called the Assassin is coming. The other 2 kids are skeptical, but after a lot of insistence, they decide to follow him into the woods. Nicholas brings a knife just in case they encounter any unfortunate situations. Soon after, the Harbinger takes control of Arlo's body and leads him to a spot where the ground looks burnt up and several animals are lying dead. He then points to the sky and, using his limited vocabulary, claims that's where he came from. There's some rainbow-colored liquid on a rock nearby, and the Harbinger collects it in a jar. He explains that it's poison poison, but he still wants them to drink it. Harbinger claims that if they drink just enough, they'll be able to walk over the line. If they drink too much, they'll die. And if they don't drink at all, the assassin will kill them. Upon hearing all of this, a frustrated Meryl announces that they're going home. On the way back, she asks her brother about the entity's motives, and he says the Harbinger is on a secret mission. But before she can inquire further, they hear a car approaching and are forced to run away. Outside the house, Ellen chats with Valerie and reveals that she knows about the affair. This leaves the latter shocked, but she eventually admits that she's unsatisfied by the farmer's life with Ruben. Just at that moment, they see a van stop nearby, and a blonde man with a bulletproof vest comes out. He ignores the women's warnings and steps inside the blue line. The man then boldly claims that entering is the easy part, but leaving is the problem. In the meantime, Ruben and James reach the Navarro's house and split up to search the area. Ruben soon comes across the dogs staring at the nearby silo's door and scares them off before heading in. James, on the other hand, finds the neighbors' dead bodies. He then enters the house, where he finds yet another body. Suddenly, he hears something in the basement, and when he steps on the stairs, someone drags him and pulls him down. At the same time, Maggie goes into the forest to look for the body Donald saw and recognizes the woman as Carmen Navarro. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.